Welcome back. Joining me is photographer John Gevers and textile artist Sara Nordling. They are here to talk about their work, which is being exhibited at the Continuum Art Gallery. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you.
John, you work in the medium of photography, and Sara, you're a textile artist. You work with fabrics and things like that, but you both tell stories through your work. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but John, I want to start with you. How did you come about telling the story of people with HIV/AIDS through photography, and how long have you been doing that?
Well, I volunteered with the AIDS Task Force in Northeast Indiana to make portraits of those individuals that they serve who wanted to come forward and tell their story about what it was to live with the disease, and hopefully break some of the stereotypes and stigmas that exist. So we created the exhibit back in 2005, and it's been around the country, and makes another appearance now in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah, you were on the show with Greg Manifold, who's the recently departed executive director of the AIDS Task Force here in Fort Wayne. And you both were on the show a couple of years ago, and we were talking about this exhibit. It was making its rounds, and we were talking about how AIDS is viewed, I guess, culturally in the 21st century, when you have politicians and celebrities as diverse as Rick Santorum to Bono really coming together to try to seek a cure. Has it lost or has it overcome, I guess, its stigma of being just a gay disease, and are people more accepting of it now?
I'm probably not the best person to answer that question, but in my opinion, I think that at the same time as losing a little bit of the stigma and the stereotypes, partly because of exhibits like this one, I think that it is a little bit more of a topic that can be more easily talked about in various age groups and various company, if you will. And
in fact, this exhibit that's showing right now at the Continuum Art Gallery down on Wayne Street here in Fort Wayne, you actually took it out to Homestead High School. How did high school students find the exhibit?
Yes, we were invited to Homestead, and I would encourage any high school that would like to have the exhibit to please contact the task force, because it's a key audience that it should be seen by. And it was received very well. Many of the young people wrote comments in the comment book afterwards that showed and told us that it was having an impact, and that they were a bit more open-minded and open-hearted, if you will, to those people with the disease.
Well, it's really, really, just to let our audience know, John's photographs are really pictures of people you would not, I guess, stereotype as having AIDS. All kinds of people have come down with it, and I think that your photography tells that story of just how it really has hit everybody in every segment of society.
The people pictured in the exhibit really reflect the diversity of the disease.
Well, Sara, turning to you, you're a textile artist. You work with fabrics, and how did you become fascinated with looms and weaving and thread and all that cool stuff?
Well, it's kind of been a lifelong process, but it wasn't until a friend of mine just took me one day and said, let's go take this spinning class. She had been an artist, and we knew each other mutually from work. So let's go take this class, and I did, and just saw all the luscious yarns and the fibers of textiles there, and there was no turning back. It was like after the spinning class, there was a weaving class. Then after that, there was buying looms and more looms, and then to the point where I went and got a Master of Fine Arts.
In textiles.
In textiles.
Which is it's actually been an art form that's been with us for centuries.
Yes.
But it's or more than that even, and it's actually becoming much more accepted as a fine art form, I would say, in the past 20 years or so.
Yes, it's made more of a mark on that. There are it's a kind of a division, like there are with a lot of crafts, that you can have the utilitarian end of things. And when I tell people I weave, the first question in a lot of people's mouth is rugs.
Yeah.
But it's not. I do wall pieces. I'm art. It's more of statement pieces that I'm making, and you wouldn't put them on your floor, and you wouldn't put them on your bed.
No, and when I see your work, it's really, really fascinating. It's really beautiful. It almost has a tactile feel.
Yeah,
you want to touch it. I don't know if one is allowed to.
No, that's a goal of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the temptation. Well, a lot of it, the one I have up right now, it's made out of monofilament. It's a fish line. It's touchable. There isn't anything you really can do to it. But a lot of the others, dealing with wool, silks, and cottons, your hand oils are going to, they leave a mark, and they're going to be damaging in some way. So it's that temptation I want you to have, because that's what drew me to textiles, and I want visually to do that to my audience.
That. We're going to talk about your current exhibit at the Continuum Art Gallery, Walking Memories, in just a minute. But I want to go back to you, John. You have a background in journalism, and how did you make the leap to photography? And who were some of your influences?
Well, I studied at Indiana University, starting out right here at IPFW, and studied photojournalism when I transferred for my last 2 years down in Bloomington at IU, and was always fascinated by the storytelling that can come from using the still photo. That morphed into also using video, as many photographers are doing today, and so I have a media company that uses both still photos, video, audio, music, to convey the human emotion, the human condition.
You actually were heavily influenced by the Turnley brothers.
I have been. I've had the privilege of studying with both of them, both brothers originally hailing here from Fort Wayne, and they've been great mentors to me, and I've learned a tremendous amount just in the last 2 years from both of them. It's really influenced my work.
And so you also do video work, which I think we're going to show here on the show over our conversation, but do you find the two media just completely different?
No, actually not. I'm really used to viewing the world as a still frame. It makes me a bit odd, I admit, but I do really frame up the things that I see. So combining the two has been a pretty natural thing, and I light everything with hot lights, including still photography and not strobes, so the crossover worked pretty well for me.
Hot lights?
Continuous lights, tungsten lights, like are used on a set, like we're on.
Oh, okay.
Instead of a strobe flash that you often see in portrait photography.
I see. And for both your video work and your...
I do use both, yeah. A lot of photographers, I shouldn't say a lot, there's a percentage of us, maybe small, that prefers the way that the light falls off of a subject that a continuous light provides.
Yeah, people don't realize that, but photography is so much about the light. The light reveals the form, right?
That's right, exactly.
Well, Sara, you're on the faculty here at IPFW. You teach some classes, and where did you receive your training?
I have my master's at IU just this past spring.
Where is IU again?
Bloomington.
Well, we don't say that word here in IPFW.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, we're related, yes.
It's a great school. But the exhibit that you have right now at the Continuum is called the Walking
Memory.
Walking Memories. It takes up an entire room, and it's almost it's an environment. Tell us a little bit about that.
It came about I was wondering if I could weave something large, an installation like. Partly it was a challenge to myself, but partly then too was well, what is it going to say? What is it going to do if I can make it this big? That I do a lot of walking, and I want to call to mind to people the observations, what to look at, to change when you see it in the different light, when you see it interact with itself and with the environment, it changes. Just as when you walk down any path, your viewpoint and your things change. And to get people to just say, I'm going to stop and look, slow down a little when they go through life, not just hurry by with headphones on and not pay attention to what's going on around them.
And how would you say that you tell stories through your medium? Or do you?
Not really so much. There isn't any blatant overt stories so much. Just to take a more emotional connection.
A feeling, a sense.
A feeling in a sense more than any kind of strict story that you're going to come away with. Just stopping and looking, desiring to interact with it.
I think it's like an experience.
That's closer to it than a story.
Your exhibit, because it's in a room, it goes around you, you're within it.
Yes, you can walk in and around through.
You feel like you're in an environment, and it's more of an experience, it's a feeling, that overcomes one. Of course, the same thing with photography. When you look at these faces of people with HIV/AIDS, you find, John, that people, maybe when you first started taking pictures, were people resistant to having their pictures taken and admitting that they had it? And has that changed over the last 10 years?
The task force, when they first put out their call for their clients who might step forward to be photographed and tell their story through a narrative, they thought they might get 5 or 10. This was in 2005, and instead they had 20 almost immediately. So there was an attitude of wanting to get this over with and be out in the community as almost like a leader to let other folks know what it is to live with the virus. Whether that's changed in the following years now, I can't speak to. I wouldn't be surprised if it's easier now to have such a disease and be taken fine by everyone.
Are you always drawn to portraits, or did you just come to portraits for this project?
Portraits are my specialty, and I volunteered to do 1 or 2 for the task force when they were putting out a call for photographers, and I got the whole thing. I'm very lucky.
What do you like to do portraits?
Why? I like to distill the essence of the human spirit in one frame.
Yes, and true. And you were talking, what drew you actually to, I guess, maybe leave other art forms, you know, or drawing or painting and say, no, textiles is the way I want to go? Who influenced you? And
one of my influences was a woman named Lenore Tawney. She had started as a sculptor herself, but gave that up and went into weaving. And her approach to it, that she would put the threads on the loom, not knowing where it was going to end up, not knowing where she was going to be heading, but just to weave it. Influence really changed the way I approached my whole weaving and my whole outlook on it, that I had worked it all out so much beforehand that it wasn't inviting any longer. That I'm glad I'm getting back, and my goal is to get back to the fact that you really want to touch it, you really want to interact with it, you really do want to do that, but in a gallery, most times, you know, they have it do not touch. They have attention of.
You need signs that say, please touch. Well, not the photographs. Leave those ones alone. Well, really, you guys are both exhibiting together. Continuum Art Gallery down on Wayne Street next to J.K. O'Donnell's. Everybody, come on down and see it. It's playing. It's showing through. I'm a theater person. It's showing through February 22nd. Thank you both for coming on the show. To see the work of John Gevers and Sara Nordling, visit the Continuum Art Gallery at 125 West Wayne Street. For more information about the exhibition at the Continuum Gallery, visit continuumartgallery.com or call them at 399-3843. If you would like to see more of Sara's art, visit her website at saranordling.com and John's at newmediabrew.com. Arts Weekly airs every week, Tuesday through Thursday on College Access Television and most Sundays on WFWA PBS 39. You can also see us on YouTube and Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Chuck O'Connor. Thanks for tuning into Arts Weekly. Join me next week with Kelly Updike from the Embassy Theater and Beth McLeish from the New American Youth Ballet.